Good evening and welcome to James and Sam from Brighton-based rockers Stone Angels.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Thanks for taking the time to chat to us here at Metal Planet Music. We're about a month away from the release of your second album?
Yeah, just over a month because Up in Smoke is dropping on the 22nd of March.
Excellent. And I believe it's available to pre-order direct.
That's correct. You can head over to our website, which is www.stone-angels, I think, .com.
Yeah, that's it.
Available on all good
Yeah.
channels, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, it's a really exciting album. I've caught a really good listen to it this evening, and yeah, wow, it's a little bit more than what you just described yourselves of in your bio. You know, there's the elements of Queens of the Stone Age and Soundgarden there, but there's a bit more to it than that. Talk us through some of it. You know,
Well, the great thing with music in general is Sam and I can hear our own influences on the track, but you ask anyone else and they're gonna hear elements of someone else. But I personally like I because it's been a few years between the first album and the new album. I was really quite keen for us to show that it was worth the wait. That while we're very proud of the first album, Given to Temptation, I just want to show there was a lot more development as a band and as songwriters. Um, and so that's why we kind of challenged ourselves quite a bit on this record to do various different things that we didn't even try to do on the first one, which is, for instance, I learned to do slide guitar, which was the first for me. I also took singing lessons during lockdown to try and add extra kind of harmonies to the backing vocals, and even taking lead on a couple of cases. But it was never to it's with no intention of dethroning Niall from the lead vocal responsibilities. It's just I've always kind of enjoyed bands where you don't necessarily have one focal point, and you can have like groups like the band, or Fleetwood Mac or stuff like that, where you can just have different members just singing for a bit.
yeah,
Which
it breaks up, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It
no, definitely.
provides different elements, and there's certainly that within the 9 tracks of the album. Um, a standout one for me, one of the early singles, Where the Crows Flies. It's gritty, it's arenaceous, it's straight off the desert plains. And then you go into the first single, Hold On, and it's pounding, it's punchy. It's like that heavyweight boxer, yeah?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
We want to, because we wanted to really kind of make a bang, so to speak, straight away with the record when we're coming back to it. Because again, it's been a couple of years since we brought out anything new before we dropped Where the Crow Flies, and yeah, as you say, we we wanted it so when the drums kick in, for it to sound like lightning and thunder in the dark. Just
Yeah,
almost take you back by how like keep catch you off guard with how much it kind of like impacts you.
certainly does. I mean, you're busy guys. I think you played last night up in Winchester with a good buddy, a mutual buddy of ours, Jack Hutchinson. How did it go?
Indeed. Yeah, great. We got back at what 1 a.m. I think I stepped through the door, so it was a good night. Yeah, Jack J Hutchinson, his band was fantastic. Great little three piece. So it was really nice to see them live, especially with how well Jack's doing at the moment with his new album and everything. But yeah, it was a great crowd for a Wednesday as well, and yeah. Really enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Yeah,
It was our first time in Winchester, so yeah.
and hopefully we'll be back soon because thankfully we were getting a lot of compliments after the show, which is always nice.
Absolutely, and this is what's got to you got to. It's a breakout of your Brighton HQ, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Brighton's a wonderful hub of venues and music.
Yeah,
And it can almost be like, you're not wanting to leave the house basically in certain respects. But
Essentially, yeah.
that being said, I absolutely love it because, yeah, the Railway Inn, lovely venue, great stage. And, it's great when we go to new locations and there's actually people, that are digging what we're doing. Because,
that's
yeah,
cool. And not so long ago, I think at the beginning of the month, you popped up to Oxford, didn't you, for Metal to the Masses?
Yes,
Let's see
so
what
that's
it
the
is.
first heat, and so thankfully we got through to the quarterfinals, which the next heat is going to be on the 20th of April, I believe, and that was up at the Jericho again. That was the first new location for us as well, and it was really fun to be involved in that because obviously with the potential prize of playing Bloodstock, one of the great rock metal festivals in the UK.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like this year, you got Clutch playing, one of my favorite all-time bands. So if there's a chance that I could say that there's a T-shirt with my name or with Stone Angels and Clutch on the same bit, I'm going to be very happy.
Yeah, I mean, travelling from South Coast to Oxford for that Battle of the Bands for Bloodstock, that's commitment to the cause.
Yeah, it's about a 200
100%.
mile hour round trip or something like that. But also, Oxford's a really fun place to go. It's a really nice city, so it's we had a lot of fun going out there. Sam managed to find us probably the smallest Airbnb for the night.
Yeah. So we were all cramped into one room, but yeah, it was great to go up to Oxford, and yeah, woke up in the middle of a forest. So it was quite a nice ending to the weekend. So yeah, nice to be getting the Stone Angels name out there for a field in Brighton. So
Definitely. Definitely. I think this album, it's been receiving very warm reviews already. It's got a very personal element to it all, I believe.
Yes, so approximately on the 7th of November 2019, around about midday, my home caught fire while I was inside. And so that obviously was one of the most stressful, traumatic days of my life. And then it quickly followed by the pandemic. So obviously this was before COVID struck, so we didn't know that that was around the corner. So it was a very challenging time for me personally. It, I don't have, with the exception of my guitar collection, an addictive personality, but it's probably the closest I came to drinking a bit too much. And so thankfully, I challenged myself to kind of write about the experience. I couldn't afford a therapist, so this is the only real way that I knew how to kind of get my feelings out on it. And so yeah, the title track is probably it's probably the rawest, lyrically speaking, song that I've ever
For
written.
sure. When you're listening, one can sense that you're pouring absolutely every last ounce of emotion into that track.
Yeah, and it really, like, it did help me through the whole kind of trauma of it all. And yeah, just it was my way of initially kind of asking for help, I guess. But thankfully, it has a happy ending to the track because it was, through my bandmates, through friends and family, and my wife, that I was able to kind of really deal and um, unpack it all, really.
Yeah,
Uh, and
a
so yeah.
salutary lesson. Whatever your trauma, your trouble, don't bottle it up. Express
Oh yeah,
it.
I agree, and it doesn't make you weak to ask for help. That's what I've learned from it all. So it's
100%.
yeah, never keep,
Yeah,
as you say, don't keep things bottled up. It's not a good idea.
no. And if you can produce something wondrous as Up in Smoke, then you're on to a winner. I mean, we'll talk a bit more about the album. You describe it in your press releases: sledgehammer riffs, colossal choruses, and unabated wailing solos. I love that description, and it fits so well.
Yeah, no, we wanted to we basically wanted to make sure that everything on this album was essentially as supercharged as much as possible. We were very fortunate that actually during the pandemic, I crossed paths with our producer Mike Krompass, because we'd actually
Mike, yeah.
yeah we'd basically cut demos before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic met Mike. We got on like a house on fire, no pun intended,
No,
and yeah, he basically said, if you want any help with the album, I'm here. And so I was not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. He's a multi-platinum producer, and
yeah,
he basically, we went up to his state-of-the-art studio in Barnsley, that he shares with Lee Mallier from Bring Me the Horizon, and he he made us sound like a stadium band on the record. So that's, you know,
Yeah.
one huge thing that I really wanted to get out of it is that, you know, I think that one of the differences between, you know, a good album and a great album is production. And
Yeah.
there's so many great bands, many of our peers on our level that are, you know, writing music just as good, if not better. But I feel like they might not necessarily spend the amount of time on the production side as they could do. And so I feel like that's one way to help set us apart, was kind of going down that route.
Definitely. I mean, for me, there's kind of you hit the nail on the head there. I think with about the production, there's a Nickelback styled production. It's got a huge sound, but it's not overpowering. You've got the melodies, you've got the harmonies, you've got the power.
Yeah, no,
That's it.
definitely. And it's you know, it's always a fine balancing act putting a record together of any kind. You don't want to you don't want to go too far one way or not far enough the other. And so yeah, I think we kind of straddled it very well. Because yeah, it's not too overproduced. It still has the raw side to it, I think.
Yeah. So we can still confidently produce the same sound, you know, as a 4-piece live without too much extra other than our amps turned up to 11, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely.
Bring the thunder.
We're missing a couple of members tonight, Niall and Loz. And I think one of the tracks on the album explains why Loz isn't here this evening.
Yes, so our drummer, he moonlights as a professional poker player. So from the hours of 6 in the evening till about 7 in the morning, he is traveling to and from casinos up in London from Brighton. So yeah, so
Wow.
Gambler is about his exploits. He even last year went out for about a month to Las Vegas to compete in a big international poker tournament. So if you ever meet him, don't play him at cards.
Yeah, don't take the 52 cards. And no, I think we'll bear that in mind for sure. But it resulted in an absolute bullet train, a bullet express of a track, didn't it?
Yeah, no. So Niall was in. He was the one who came up with that track about Loz's exploits, and yeah, Niall couldn't sadly be here tonight because he's manning till at the local co-op. Well, yeah, no, I think this was kind of because we got to play with Skindred a couple of years back.
Wow.
I think that song was kind of almost inspired by the intensity that Skindred sometimes writes, and yeah, so I think that's kind of like it rubbed off on him a bit when he kind of came up with the main kind of riff and everything.
Definitely. I mean, but you're not afraid to stray from one genre, one box to another. There's the classic Deep Purple rock, minus the Hammond organs in Supercharged, which is aptly named.
Yeah, no, when writing a song, it's a different process every single time, and so like half the time I'll just be noodling on the guitar, and then a riff will come to me, and then I will write a song in an instance out of that riff, and that was pretty much the case with Supercharged. The name came about actually because my late grandfather used to race supercharged MGs along the Brighton Speed Trial and the Goodwood hill climb, and so it's kind of that's the riff for me. It kind of sounds like a V8 engine going through the gear changes, revving to life.
Yeah.
Lyrically, it's a bit more about a kind of a fun Friday night out in the town. So drink respectfully and in moderation, but
Brighton's always a good night out.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
you're not short of any entertainment in this town.
That's it.
So, do you all bring different elements to that songwriting process?
Yeah, definitely. So it's very much a democratic process, even though I probably talk the most. It's all down to votes and good discussions. So to be fair, Sam was brought in after we'd already finished the album. But he's already been laying down bass lines for potential album number 3. So it's great because again, as you said, as you hit the nail on the head, we're not afraid of kind of venturing into different territories slightly. and I think the way to do that is by having, you know, equal kind of inspirations, and allowing people to kind of nurture their ideas, because you know, you never know what flower will come from a seed if you don't water it.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah,
And, you know, another standout track for me is the epic Southern of Halfway to Nowhere. It's almost
That's
as if
love
you've
that track.
taken a bit of Sabbath, you know, it's like the Planet Caravan sort of thing, and then just dropped it into the Midwest and boom, there you go.
See, yeah, for me, that song, it kind of reminds me of Bon Jovi's "Wanted Dead or Alive" meets
Yeah,
Led Zeppelin's "Kashmir." Like,
Yeah,
it's Bon Jovi in the verses, Led Zeppelin in the choruses.
yeah. It's a healthy
feel a
blend,
heat
isn't
wave
it?
in a sepia tone and stuff
Yeah.
like.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great track. I love playing that one live.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fantastic one.
To be fair,
And
yeah.
lyrics are really important, and you're not shy of tackling very difficult issues. I mean, I think one of the last tracks we haven't mentioned, Western Dreamer.
Yeah, so Western Dream, yeah, that was, yeah, probably the big epic and ending song off the album. That one was kind of really inspired by the whole notion of the American dream, you know, that kind of 1950s mantra, and questioning, you know, expanding it to the UK as well. If you look at everything that's happened in the last 5, 10 years, are these really still the desirable places to live? Like, you know, for someone from a foreign land looking and wanting to in search for a better life, are we still being able to provide that? You know, it's kind of, I'm not a political person, I'm not smart enough for politics, but you know, it's just kind of how that song kind of came about.
Definitely. And you've got to be excited a month to release.
Oh yes, it's all hands on deck. Just been with the talking with the printing press for the vinyls and the CDs, making sure everything's, you know, churning along, that we're going to be ready, because it has unintentionally become our own version of Chinese democracy and how long it's taken us to get this album out. And so yes, we're very excited for it to
Yeah,
finally be on the horizon.
that's it. I think it's best part of 5 years, but if my maths is
Yeah, and we can be forgiven for about 3 years in the middle because of the pandemic.
absolutely yes.
Yeah. Well,
But
it
still,
gave me enough time to learn the 2 album material that we got already. So,
yeah,
which was a
exactly.
fun process in itself. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how was that, Sam, coming into a band that's got, you know, 2 albums worth of tracks, not 20 odd tracks?
it was nice to be honest, because I mean, I've been playing bass since I was 15, so for half my life now, being at the ripe old age of 30. But I've just come out of BIM at the time, basically, and going into lockdown, I just was sat in a box room with my amp and the 2 albums worth of material. And yeah, it was great. It was a real learning experience with learning by ear and getting to know the band like sonically in my own head, like coming up with my own idea of what I need to provide to the soundscape to push things further live and emulate what's on the previous album and the new album. It's been a great experience, to be honest. It's really like helped me bust out my bass chops, basically. So
Nice.
yeah.
And can we expect you to express yourself in, I mean, okay, the new album's just around the corner, but you've already touched on a third album.
Oh yeah, definitely. That'll be full of my riffs all over the place. I've got plenty of stuff in the bank. So
Yeah,
That's great to hear. That's great to hear.
the trouble arises when the drummer says, "Oh, I've got a song that I've written."
And he wants to sing it.
yeah, that's it.
So, album launch in about a month's time. What can we expect in terms of live shows, promotion?
Uh, Yeah, so we're currently, there's a few irons in the fire. So we're hoping to have a show around about the time of the launch. It's going to be hopefully a hometown show, as well as then we're hoping as well to do a small run of dates in the northern part of England around about May time, as well as we've got Metal to the Masses quarterfinals coming through, and then also the amazing Station 18 festival that we're looking forward to playing. Um, And there's a couple of other things in the work that we can't just reveal just yet, but there are other things about to appear.
Definitely exciting times ahead for Stone Angels.
Oh yeah, no, it's wonderful. Because again, as you say, it's been so long trying to get this album out, and finally now it's slowly being drip fed, and people are responding to it, which is wonderful. One of the hardest things being a musician is putting your your music out there, because we all know a mother's love is blind, so it's kind of hard to be objective as to whether or not you're doing anything that's any good.
I mean, it's got to be kind of a bit daunting, because you're basically sticking your head above the parapet and waiting for someone to take a shot.
Yeah,
oh, definitely, yeah. But yeah, it's an exciting process, and I think arguably it's the most interest that the band has ever had in a plus decade of being around, which is great.
I mean, you say a decade, that's quite scary, isn't it? It's taken that much time to get to this point, this juncture.
Yeah, we've had one of the things that's kind of held us back over the years was that we've had more drummers than Spinal Tap, but thankfully our current rhythm section of Loz and Sam, has been our longest serving one, and so it's great that we really kind of have that kind of firm foundation, because as you know, every band is built around the rhythm section, so it's the heartbeat. So we've had to have a few was it pacemakers put in over the years, that finally we got a good rhythm.
Excellent. I mean, there's a definite beating heart here in Stone Angels. I wish you the very best for the album launch. Look to see you on the road, and of course at Station 18 in Swansea in early May.
Excellent. Yeah, we can't wait for it.
Yeah,
gentlemen,
really Station 18, dude.
James, Sam, thank you ever so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, dude.
Take care, Gary.
Yeah.